Business Brain, episode 592. No. Yeah, 592. Wow, have we done that many of them? For Wednesday, October 23rd, National Slap Your Coworker Day, 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, we crunch them, we dissect them, we analyze them, we use them to tune our business brains so that we can each keep living those charmed lives. Our sponsor for this episode is a new one. It's Vanta.com/brain. Vanta automates your ISO 27001, your SOC 2, your GDPR, and at that link, you can save $1,000. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still out here in Northern California. I'm Shannon Jean. I love that Vanta is sponsoring us. I was just driving through, take my kids back to the airport in San Francisco, and there's Vanta billboards up there. And one said something to the effect of, I'm not going to say it right, but it said something, use Vanta so your security doesn't SOC 2, you know, because it's the play on words.
SOC2, yeah.
SOC2, and I was like, oh, it's cool. And my son-in-law uses their stuff, so that's great. I'm glad to have them aboard.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
also super stoked today because I'm going to get to learn the most here today. I always talk about how, you know,
no, my brain is a sponge. It's going to be me. I get to learn.
Yep. So we're joined by Michael Prandamano, who runs a business called The Bin Store. And, you know, I'm a huge product sales guy, liquidation guy, auctions, aquidation.
Aquidation. You almost coined a new term.
I'm going to say it. Come up with it.
I'm in.
So, yeah, let's do it. So, Michael and I talk a lot. He, on the X platform, he's got a great business. I'm fascinated by the business model. Michael, thank you for being with us today. I'm really happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. Go ahead.
I want to dive right in, man. Like, what do you do? Talk. What's the Bin Store?
Sure. So, I guess kind of the elevator pitch here is the Bin Store is kind of an interesting spin on liquidation in a retail setting. So we have a fixed pricing model. So what that means is, for instance, Friday is our $6 day. Anything you find in the bins on Friday is $6 per item. It could be literally a Apple MacBook, it could be a gaming system, it could be a luxury purse. Anything in the entire store is $6 per item. We have 2 days like that called our restock days, which is Friday and Saturday. Then the price drops $1 per day. This is where it gets interesting. Sunday is $5, Monday is $4, Tuesday is $3, Wednesday is $2, and Thursday is $1. We usually get cleared out on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we do it all over again for the next week. And that's...
Dude, I have so many questions.
I mean, obviously you've got to be able to make money. So there's some scale here, many $6 purchases and probably a bunch of folks that are trying to game the system and time it right and all those things. And the gamification makes it interesting. How many customers do you see in there a week?
So I can tell you by the numbers. So there's, and Shannon will appreciate this. There's in season and there's off season.
Okay.
So we're kind of coming out of off season, going into in season right now. Off season, between the two stores, we'll move 25,000 products a week. In season, we move about 40,000 plus per week, individual products.
Love it.
Wow.
Love
Yeah, so
this idea.
In total, we move, again, between two locations, 1.75 million products a year.
And this is a guy that started this in his storage shed in his backyard. I want to just point that out.
Yes.
That this is something that, if you read his story, which we'll link in the show notes, his profile on X, Michael started this by selling stuff around his house and learning this system and moving from in the house out to his storage shed and then figuring it out and taking one step at a time. And that's why I love this. Not only do I love the business model because I don't know how it works, but I love I don't know how you make money at it, but I love the Talk about that. This gradual, what was the timeline that got you moved out and got your storage shed and then got your first retail space? Because it's powerful, man.
I think you'll appreciate this, Shannon. I started, like you said, I started in retail arbitrage. So I'd go around to stores, I'd look for products that I could sell online for more money. And that was great, made a little bit of money, but there was not a lot of scale there. And I'm always trying to scale whatever I'm doing. So then I jumped into pallets. I started buying individual pallets, did really well. Profit wise, it was fantastic.
And you were still in your shed. You're still selling this
Yes.
stuff like that. Okay, great.
I was in my shed, I was in my garage, I was in my living room, and I have an extremely tolerant wife.
Nice. That's important.
We always say that you gotta have a partner that at least is willing to accept your brand of crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
and there's a lot of it there, so she's fantastic. But I was kind of all over the house doing this. And then, Shannon, the part that I think you'll appreciate is my death pile started to grow. And essentially what that is, when you're buying in bulk, what I do is I put things into buckets as I break down products. So I know, okay, here I can sell these easily on eBay. I could sell this on Poshmark. I could sell this here. And then once you get through all of that, sometimes you're left with a pile of stuff that's just not suitable to sell online.
Yeah.
If it could be because of the price, it could be because of the weight. There's a lot of different factors there. But my death pile was growing substantially, and I was just looking for a way to move that product. 'Cause I don't like any waste. Like everyone else, trying to maximize as much as I can. And I sat down one day with a piece of paper and kind of started sketching this idea out. On one side, I put, what I thought all the potential expenses would be for a venture like this, and the other side, the potential revenue. And it balanced out and went forward.
All right, folks, look, whether you're starting or scaling your company's security program, demonstrating top-notch security practices and establishing trust is more important than ever. Our sponsor, Vanta, automates compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2, GDPR, and more, saving you time and money while helping you build customer trust. Plus, you can streamline security reviews by automating questionnaires and demonstrating your security posture with a customer-facing trust center, all powered by Vanta AI. This is one of my favorite uses of AI for us as business owners these days. Anything customer-facing that can be augmented with AI can make a huge difference, and Vanta's obviously doing that with Trust Center. Over 8,000 global companies like Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. And because you're a listener to Business Brain, our audience gets a special offer of $1,000 off Vanta when you visit vanta.com/brain. That's vanta.com/brain for $1,000 off. And our thanks to Vanta for sponsoring this episode. So you had this death pile. I love that term. The things you couldn't sell online, and so in person it is, right? You gotta figure out a way to move it without putting it online.
Absolutely, and this was during a time where people were starting to shy away from retail a bit.
Oh, yeah.
I launched the first store kind of in the middle of COVID, so it was really a wild idea, but I felt that if we could, something I always focus on with my managers, with my team, we have over 60 employees now, is what kind of value are we delivering to the customer today, this week, this month? And when you make that the focal point, I believe it helps you drive the volume that you need to drive to be successful. I think that a lot of us have lost sight of the customer these days.
Yeah.
In experience, in value, in everything.
Yeah. And giving value first, right? That
Yes.
you guys are doing that first, and then it comes back to you.
Absolutely.
I've long said many times on this show that every business is the customer service business, and those of us that understand that, it's like we have the magic bullet, because there's so many businesses that just don't get it, and it's weird to me, but it is, so it's fine.
So okay, you realize you got this death pile, you got to get something going.
Right.
Did you start out in a small space, or did you think, hey, we're going to need a big warehouse, or tell us how that worked?
Yeah, so I would say I probably went to like a medium size space right out of the gate. I figured if I was going to do it, go big, and see if it has legs or not. Actually, pulling from one of your previous episodes in terms of risk aversion, money, not wanting to sign a personal guarantee, afraid of failing, all the things that you guys spoke about. It was definitely going through my head at that time, but I found that, the more successful you are, the more risk you take on, and you have to be okay with that. So I went ahead and I have a real estate background, so I negotiated a really great lease for my first store. I got, if I'm recalling correctly, I think it was 8 months free rent right out of the gate.
Nice.
It was about 9,000 square feet, and that gave us the ability to get propped up and running within about 2 months. And then I had 6 months of no rent to start paying back a lot of the expenses that I laid out. Because rent in this business is your second line item in terms of expenses. Obviously product is first.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah,
right, because you need space. Yeah. Makes sense.
And I love that this stat. You're using your talent stack to all the things that you've just learned over time. That you're like, okay, I know this real estate game. That's going to help me with my other business. It's going to be, it's huge. It's important. What?
And if I may add, also to add on to that, previous failures too. Not everything that you touch is instant success.
You're preaching to the choir.
Wait,
man.
what?
But it surprised me to hear you say that. Number one, inventory, I get that. Number two is rent versus I thought number two would be, employees. You've got 60 employees, but
they're close. And I have 60 employees that are siloed into different companies. So I have a parent company, which is Bin Store Brands, and that oversees all of the companies. And then there's one set up for each individual store. I have one set up for our warehouse and pallet business, and down the line. But when I run a P&L every week for the stores, which is not very typical, but because of the nature of this business, I felt like it's necessary because there's a lot of variables, a lot of things can change quickly. And running a P&L every week allows me to see where the numbers are coming in, and then I can use my levers, and my levers are, there's not a lot of them, but how much product we put out. I could throttle that. So
I see.
Yeah, when you buy a truckload in this business, each individual box represents X amount of dollars. So if sales are light one week, I'll pull back maybe a box or two. But as we go, like currently, as we go into the holiday season, I'll ramp it up and I'll put an extra 6 boxes in because I know that we're gonna sell more product.
That's fascinating. I have lots more questions now. So. Okay, so you get set up, and this model is what I'm fascinated about with the pricing. Talk about inventory purchases that allow you to, offer this $6, 665, 4321, whatever, and still profit and grow your business. Tell me, just pretend I know nothing because I know nothing. So tell me how it works.
No, you know a lot. And one of these things may actually make you gasp, but I buy a lot of product from our largest online retailer.
Sure.
And that product is actually manifested. But this is the part that's probably going to make you gasp. I rarely look at the manifest.
Gasp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with, and I'll explain why in a minute. I'm concerned with piece count, I know the condition of the product based on the facility that it's coming out of. We've been pulling out of certain facilities for a very long time, so I'm comfortable with the product condition and the product mix. And what I mostly care about is the piece count. What is my cost per piece, and
Sure.
that is driven by our pricing schedule. So if I was trying to sell things at $10 or $12 per item to start the week, I'd be much more concerned what was coming in. But at $6, we have there's waves of people that come in throughout the day. The first wave is the treasure hunters. They're interested in the drones and the gaming systems and all of the great stuff that comes in, as a lot of people are. But then we're open for 8 hours. So once that stuff is found, you want people to still come into the store. What are they looking for? Well, at $6, they're buying detergent, and they're buying clothing, and they're buying bedding, and a lot of the consumables that you need for everyday life. And that wasn't by mistake. That was by design. And on the purchasing side, this business can get extremely complicated sometimes, especially when you're diving into a lot of manifests. It's very time consuming. And when you're running a business like this, I'm concerned with product. Obviously, we need good product for our stores, but I don't dive into the weeds on that stuff. I care about cost per piece.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense when you put it out that way, because of the retail price that you're selling each piece for.
Right.
You're not dealing with people that are buying $300 items. I mean, there might be an item that's worth $300, but they've only paid $6 for it. So, yeah.
And that gives us a customer for life.
Yeah,
It
I can
sure
imagine.
does.
And exponentially, because they tell everybody forever, that they got. So do you seed the bins? I've seen pictures of your store. If you go to the links that we'll put in the show notes at businessbrain.show, you can see them too. Do you seed stuff in there, or do you just dump it in? And I don't want to say dump. If you place it in carefully, and what's in there is what's in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a business behind this.
Sure.
And I'd love to have you out to the warehouse one day.
I'd love to come.
Look around. But everything that comes in those 24 boxes every week goes into the bins. Now, what we do is we set up the store for convenience, right? We want to make this, we want to make it bright. We want to make it, cold in the summer and warm in the winter. And these things, as I say these things, you're like, of course, but people in this industry don't necessarily do that. But we'll set up, one bin will be just for fabrics, and one bin will be for bedding, and one will be for food. And then we have a lot of general merchandise bins, and we make sure that there's a lot of small products and a lot of large products, and it's all measured and it's all by design to make sure that we have enough products in the bins every single week to sell, 12, 13,000 per store in the off season and sell 20,000 in season.
Yeah, that's really cool. Was it difficult to find suppliers, or talk about the supplier acquisition and how important that is?
Sure. I would say in the beginning, it was definitely difficult. The more you sell and the more product you can move, the more valuable you are. These major retailers have a lot of the same issues that we have. That you think about these fulfillment centers that are 2, 3, 4, 500,000 square feet, and you're like, oh my gosh, how could they ever run out of space? They do. They do. And it happens often. And if you are in a position to move that product for them, you're solving a problem for them.
This is like what you did, Shannon, when you started out. You bought.
You're adding problem.
You said, "I'll buy everything."
Yeah, you're adding value to both sides of the chain, or both sides of it, right? The equation to the customer, because it's such a great price and the product quality, whatever, and then to the supplier, because you're going in there. I've stood in those warehouses, man, and had people like. I was like a rock star, because I was like, well, I'll take this quarter of the whole warehouse. And they were like, what?
You're solving our problem.
Thank you so much. That kind of thing. So
of course.
It's that's really cool. Okay. So the flip side of that question is, How do you guys get your customers?
That's a great question. It's a multi-pronged approach, I would say. I believe in everything from what we call like guerrilla marketing, or the ground game. I do flyers, make sure that every customer that comes to the store gets a little postcard flyer that they can put on their refrigerator if they still do that. I don't know. It's 2024.
Nice.
We do that. We do digital advertising. We do YouTube videos. SEO. SEO is extremely important. We have someone in-house that handles all of that for us, and that was his business prior to this, and he said, I love what you're doing, and I want to jump on board.
Nice.
That's cool.
And Facebook is still pretty important.
You put reels up and stuff and talk about, show people about shopping and all that kind of thing and get excitement going. Yeah.
We do that, but what's interesting is probably the most traction that we get are from our static photos. So every Thursday night before $6 Friday, we'll put out 30 photos of what's going to be in the bins. And that gets the most
to whet the appetite of the treasure hunters.
Yes.
Just love it.
Or
love it.
give them an idea of what's going to be in there. If they do they want to get up early on Friday or not? And a lot of times those pictures will dictate that. And we do the same thing on Friday night for Saturday.
That's so great. I have no interest in starting a bin store, but listening to Michael talk, I have interest in starting a bin store.
Yeah.
I just can't help it. I'm always just like, okay, I can see how do that. And everybody loves a bargain. I love the treasure hunt. I love auctions. I love liquidation stuff. And it's great, fascinating to hear this story. If you don't follow Michael Prandamano on X, you should. We're live streaming up there now, but if you're just listening to the audio, if businessbrain.show will have his account linked. I know he helps other people now start bin stores, and he also sells you wholesale stuff to other bin store operators type things, right?
Yeah. So
Awesome.
two other divisions. We have a 25,000 square foot pallet warehouse that's open to the public. So we sell all kinds of product, which ties into the bin store too. If we ever buy something that pallet buyers don't want, we send it to the store. And we do free consulting, and we have a licensing division if you ever want to use our brand.
Man. I love it. I love
smart.
it. I'm super excited about this. I know we'll be seeing and hearing a lot more. Thank you for coming on and explaining how this works. Once again, I learned the most on this show.
This is it's at shopbinstores.com is where people can learn more about this, right, Michael?
Yep, shopbinstores.com. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Like he said, thanks for coming on the show. Folks, if you have questions for Michael, you can find shopbinstores.com. You can find him on X. You can email us, feedback@businessbrain.show, and we're happy to pass your questions along to Michael or answer them if they're for us. Thanks for hanging out. Keep living that charmed life. We'll see you on Friday.